The Vexari Dominion had conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems, each victory easier than the last. Their science division detected Earth's electromagnetic signals centuries ago, but classified the blue planet as primitive development stage, pre-interstellar, and set it aside for future harvesting. It wasn't until Earth's increasing radio chatter and satellite deployments triggered automated alerts that Supreme Overlord Krasizik bothered to divert a scouting vessel to the Sol system. Another backwater world of frightened prey species, he told his war council, displaying the preliminary scans on the command deck's holographic array. The images showed humans going about their daily lives, fragile bipeds with no natural armor, claws, or significant biophysical defenses. The council chittered with amusement at such vulnerable creatures building civilizations. Commander Nixtroll, head of biological assessment, scrolled through the data with 4 of her 6 appendages. Supreme Overlord, I recommend standard protocol observation period. These creatures show unusual social patterns that... Unnecessary, Krasizik interrupted, his dorsal spines flaring with impatience. Their technology is primitive. Their bodies are weak. Their world is resource-rich. This will be a standard conquest operation. The flagship Inevitable Victory emerged from hyperspace just beyond Earth's moon, followed by 7 battle cruisers. The sudden appearance of massive alien vessels triggered immediate worldwide panic, followed by a remarkable demonstration of human adaptability. Within 12 hours, the United Nations convened an emergency session. Military forces worldwide went on high alert, and civilian populations remained surprisingly orderly despite the existential shock. When the Vexari Communication Array established contact with Earth's leaders, Supreme Overlord Krasizik was mildly surprised to find himself addressing a hastily assembled coalition of representatives rather than competing with multiple territorial leaders. The humans appeared organized, calm even, despite their obvious technological inferiority. People of Earth, Krasizik announced, his translation software converting his harmonic speech to human languages. Your world now falls within the domain of the Vexari Dominion. Your resources and territories are hereby claimed for the glory of our empire. Submit to immediate occupation and minimal harvesting of your biosphere, and your species will be permitted controlled breeding rights and worker status. The human representatives requested a 48-hour consultation period. Krasizik, amused by their presumption, granted 24. They seek to delay the inevitable, war strategist Vex Moore observed. Perhaps they believe their primitive weapons might harm our vessels. A demonstration seems prudent, Krasizik decided. He ordered a single kinetic strike on an uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean. The energy beam that lanced down from the Inevitable Victory vaporized 2 square kilometers of land, leaving nothing but steaming ocean in its wake. The humans responded with surprising composure. Their lead representative, a female from a territory called New Zealand, addressed the Vexari with remarkable dignity, despite the demonstration of overwhelming force. We understand your power, she said, but we ask you to understand that Earth contains many unique biological and cultural resources. Perhaps we can discuss terms that would benefit both our species without unnecessary conflict. Krasizik was momentarily taken aback by this response. Most species either surrendered immediately or launched futile attacks after such a demonstration. These humans were attempting negotiation. He permitted dialogue to continue while the invasion force prepared, more out of curiosity than strategic consideration. Meanwhile, beneath the diplomatic veneer, humanity mobilized with remarkable efficiency. Military commanders who had spent careers preparing for wars against each other now coordinated global defense strategies. Scientists worked around the clock analyzing the limited data available on Vexari technology. Intelligence agencies pooled information, and manufacturing centers worldwide pivoted to emergency production protocols. In the Vexari Command Center, Commander Nixtroll continued reviewing human biological scans with growing concern. Supreme Overlord, I've identified several anomalies in these creatures. Their endurance capabilities exceed standard parameters. Their cognitive pattern recognition is remarkably advanced, and this data suggests they're apex predators on their world despite their physical limitations. All irrelevant. Kraszik dismissed. Prepare the landing forces. We'll begin with their largest population centers and establish processing facilities for resource extraction. The Vexari invasion timetable allotted 3 days for complete planetary subjugation. Preliminary force deployment included 8,000 shock troops and automated harvesting machinery. By Vexari calculations, this would be more than sufficient for a world of soft, defenseless bipeds. As the Dominion's troop carriers prepared to launch, Science Officer Zexlor approached the Supreme Overlord with data that had just been processed. Sir, preliminary cultural analysis suggests these humans have a recorded history of continuous warfare spanning thousands of years. They appear to primarily fight each other. Krazzik's mandibles clicked in amusement. Then they will be well practiced at surrender. The first wave of Vexari dropships deployed toward Earth's atmosphere, their commanders confident in quick victory. None of them recognized the significance of what they had just done. They had picked a fight with the deadliest kind of intelligence in the galaxy, humans with their backs against the wall. Aboard the inevitable victory, the Vexari War Council gathered around a three-dimensional projection of Earth. Tactical Officer Mevkor manipulated the display to highlight population centers, military installations, and resource-rich regions. His segmented eyes reflected the blue glow of the hologram as he pointed to key strategic locations. Our biological assessment confirms these humans are physically inferior specimens, Mevkor reported. Their musculature is approximately 1/3 our strength. Their skeletal structure lacks proper density. Their sensory organs are limited to primitive wavelengths. Most critically, they possess no natural defensive capabilities, no armor plating, no toxin sacs, no regenerative tissues. Supreme Overlord Kraszik clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. And their weapons technology. Primarily projectile-based and chemical explosives. Their most advanced weapons use fission and fusion principles, but delivery systems are rudimentary. Our shields can withstand their entire nuclear arsenal with minimal power drain, Mevkor answered. Their air and sea vessels will be neutralized within the first 6 hours of engagement. Commander Nixtroll shifted uncomfortably, her lower appendages tapping an anxious rhythm against the deck. Supreme Overlord, with respect, our cultural analysis remains incomplete. These humans exhibit unusual behavioral patterns. They appear to function effectively in both hierarchical and decentralized organizational structures. And their historical records show. More caution, Commander. Krazzik's dorsal spines flattened in annoyance. The Dominion has conquered far more advanced species than these humans. Their technological development suggests they only discovered atomic energy within the last century. They barely maintain a primitive orbital presence. It's not their technology that concerns me, Nixtroll persisted. It's their adaptability. In merely the 26 hours since our arrival, they've established unified planetary defense protocols across previously competing territorial boundaries. This suggests exceptional. It suggests desperation. War strategist Vex Moore interrupted. A temporary alliance facing extinction. Nothing we haven't seen before. Kraszik signaled the end of the debate with an imperious gesture. Proceed with invasion protocols. Standard subjugation pattern. I want resource extraction to begin within 72 hours. On Earth, humanity prepared for war with remarkable efficiency. Ancient enemies shared military intelligence. Private technology firms collaborated with government agencies. Within secure bunkers beneath mountains, deserts, and oceans, human leaders assembled the most comprehensive defense plan in Earth's history. The aliens have made 3 critical mistakes, General Katerina Sokolov explained to the Emergency Defense Council. The Russian commander pointed to satellite imagery of the Vexari vessels. First, they revealed their capabilities before attacking. Second, they'd given us time to prepare. And third, perhaps most importantly, they've united us against a common enemy. President Luis Herrera of Mexico nodded grimly. For the first time in human history, we fight not for territory or resources or ideology, but for our very existence as a species. Their technology is far beyond ours, admitted Professor Hiroshi Takahashi, head of the newly formed Xenotechnology Analysis Division. But we've identified potential vulnerabilities in their ship designs. They rely heavily on energy shields and assume conventional weapons pose no threat. This suggests they've never encountered an enemy that forced them to develop redundant defense systems. Field Marshal Njenga of the Pan-African Defense Force studied the tactical displays. They expect a conventional war, armies meeting armies. We will give them something quite different. Every human on Earth becomes a resistance fighter. Every building becomes a fortress. Every tool becomes a weapon. In laboratories worldwide, scientists worked feverishly to adapt existing technologies against the alien threat. Military hackers attempted to penetrate Vexeri communications. Engineers modified conventional weapons based on observed alien physiological data. Meanwhile, the first wave of Vexeri dropships entered Earth's atmosphere, their thermal signatures tracked by every remaining satellite and ground station. The aliens had selected 16 primary landing zones near major population centers. They expected mass panic and disorganized resistance. They expected swift victory. They were wrong. As the dropships descended through cloud cover toward New Delhi, they encountered no opposing aircraft. The airspace had been cleared. Thermal scans showed the city largely evacuated. The invasion commander, Sub-Overlord Trazak, registered confusion at this unexpected development. "Where are the defenders?" he demanded. "Where are the military units?" The question was answered moments later when the seemingly empty buildings beneath them erupted with coordinated weapons fire. Modified surface-to-air missiles, their warheads reconfigured based on analysis of Vexeri shield frequencies, streaked upward. Half the missiles were intercepted by automated defense systems, but the remainder struck with unexpected effectiveness. 3 dropships fell from the sky, their shields flickering and failing. The others stabilized and continued their descent, deploying Vexeri shock troops into the streets of the partially evacuated city. The aliens moved with practiced precision, their exoskeletal armor gleaming in the morning sun. But instead of confronting organized military units in direct combat as expected, they encountered a bewildering array of traps, ambushes, and unconventional attacks. Buildings wired with explosives collapsed on alien formations. Narrow streets became killing zones. Civilian vehicles converted into mobile weapon platforms appeared and disappeared through underground passages. Across the globe, similar scenes played out as the Vexeri invasion force encountered not the easy conquest they had anticipated, but a planet-wide insurgency unlike anything in their military doctrine. Aboard the inevitable Victory, Supreme Overlord Krasik received the first casualty reports with disbelief. "Impossible," he hissed, his exoskeleton plates clicking angrily. "These are primitives." Commander Nixtrol studied the incoming data with growing alarm. "Sir, the humans are fighting asymmetrically. They've adapted their tactics based on our superior technology. They're sacrificing territory to preserve fighting capacity. They've analyzed our weaknesses," war strategist Vex Moore acknowledged reluctantly. "Somehow, in just over a day, they've developed countermeasures to technologies they've never encountered before." Krasik's eyes narrowed as the implications became clear. "We've underestimated these creatures," he admitted. "Deploy the reserve forces, all of them." The Vexeri battlecruiser Relentless Conquest hovered above what remained of Shanghai, its massive shadow darkening the partially evacuated metropolis. Sub-Overlord Dreskar surveyed the tactical display with growing frustration. 3 days into what should have been a simple conquest operation, and his forces controlled only portions of the city, primarily empty buildings and strategically insignificant areas deliberately abandoned by the human defenders. "The primitives retreat constantly," Dreskar complained to his tactical officer. "They refuse proper combat. They strike, then disappear into underground passages or buildings rigged with explosive traps. Their tactics defy conventional military doctrine. The tactical officer replied, mandibles clicking nervously. They appear to be sacrificing territory to preserve combat effectiveness. A sudden alert flashed across the command console. Multiple incoming projectiles detected. The defense systems operator announced, primitive ballistic missiles. Intercept protocols engaging. The Vexeri vessel's energy shields flared brilliantly as they neutralized the incoming missiles, exactly as expected. What wasn't expected was the secondary wave that followed immediately. Smaller rockets carrying unusual payloads that detonated just outside the shield perimeter, releasing clouds of metallic particles. Shield harmonics destabilizing, reported the system's operator, antennae twitching in alarm. The particles are creating interference patterns in our defensive field. Before Dreskar could issue new orders, the third wave struck, hypersonic missiles that exploited momentary weaknesses in the fluctuating shields. Two penetrated the defensive barrier, striking the vessel's propulsion array. The massive ship lurched sideways, emergency systems engaging as secondary explosions rippled through its lower decks. Impossible. Dreskar hissed as warning alarms blared across the command deck. They've only known of our technology for 3 days. Similar scenarios unfolded globally as humanity executed its first coordinated counteroffensive. In orbital defense stations, Vexeri commanders watched in disbelief as their previously invincible vessels reported shield failures and weapons system malfunctions. Human attacks came in precisely coordinated waves, each targeting vulnerabilities revealed by the previous strike. The Vexeri battlecruiser Inevitable Dominance, damaged by a surprisingly effective attack over the Brazilian rainforest, attempted an emergency landing to conduct repairs. As the massive vessel descended toward a clearing, camouflaged artillery positions opened fire from surrounding highlands. Not with conventional shells, but with projectiles containing engineered electromagnetic pulse generators. Technology reverse-engineered from salvaged Vexeri components and adapted to exploit the aliens' power distribution networks. Systems failed catastrophically throughout the ship as it crash-landed, tearing a kilometer-long gash through the dense vegetation. Vexeri survivors emerged from the wreckage to find themselves in an environment utterly foreign to their experience, hot, humid, teeming with insect life, and surrounded by an invisible enemy that seemed to melt into the endless green landscape. Commander Vex Trill, the highest-ranking survivor, established a defensive perimeter around the downed vessel. Maintain formation, he ordered the disoriented troops. Reinforcements will arrive once we transmit our coordinates. But the crash had damaged their long-range communication systems. Short-range transmitters functioned, but no other Vexeri forces were within range. As night fell in the rainforest, strange sounds surrounded the alien troops, calls of unfamiliar wildlife mingling with the occasional crack of branches that might be natural or might indicate movement of human fighters. These conditions are intolerable, complained squad leader Kesmar, his exoskeleton glistening with condensation in the oppressive humidity. Our thermal regulation systems are operating beyond capacity. The atmospheric moisture is interfering with sensor arrays, added the security officer. Detection range is reduced to less than 50 meters. The first attack came just before dawn. Not a frontal assault, but a series of seemingly random shots from multiple directions. Vexeri soldiers returned fire into the dense vegetation, hitting nothing. The human attackers retreated, only to strike again from different positions an hour later. This pattern continued for 3 days. The Vexeri never saw their attackers clearly. They expended precious energy reserves maintaining defense shields against an enemy that refused to mass for a decisive engagement. Injuries mounted from the constant sniper fire. Sleep deprivation took its toll on even the hardened Vexeri warriors. On the 4th day, Commander Vextrill detected a faint Vexeri communication signal and led a desperate march toward it, abandoning the crashed vessel. The exhausted troops hacked through dense undergrowth, constantly harassed by insects, heat, and the occasional crack of a human sniper rifle. They finally reached a small clearing where a Vexeri scout ship had landed for extraction. As the battered survivors boarded the rescue vessel, Vextril turned to his second-in-command. "I faced 17 planetary conquests," he said, his voice subdued. "Never have I encountered a species that fights like these humans." Aboard the inevitable Victory, Supreme Overlord Krasik faced the first serious military challenge of his career. Reports from around the planet indicated unexpected resistance everywhere. The humans were adapting Vexari technology with alarming speed, developing countermeasures that should have been beyond their capabilities. "Our intelligence was catastrophically flawed," Commander Nixtrol stated, no longer concerned about contradicting her superior. "These humans are not merely unusually adaptive. They possess a form of collective problem-solving that accelerates under pressure." Krasik's pride demanded immediate escalation. "Prepare for orbital bombardment. We'll destroy their major population centers from orbit." Science Officer Zexlor cautiously interjected, "Supreme Overlord, preliminary analysis suggests the humans have already dispersed their leadership and technological centers. Bombardment may destroy infrastructure, but will likely leave their fighting capability intact." "Then we must strike decisively at their command structure," Krasik decided. "Identify their leadership bunkers and prepare focused attacks." But even as he issued the orders, a new alert sounded. Human forces had somehow bypassed the defenses of a forward command center in what they called North America. The facility had fallen, and with it, critical Vexari tactical databases were now in human hands. The deadliest predators humanity had ever faced were learning a painful lesson. They had severely underestimated the creatures they had come to conquer. Commander Nixtrol's laboratory aboard the inevitable Victory had been transformed from a standard biological assessment facility into something closer to an anthropological archive. Holographic displays showed hundreds of human historical figures, military engagements, technological developments, and cultural artifacts. She moved between the displays with growing fascination and alarm, her 6 limbs working in perfect coordination as she cataloged new observations. "They are not what we thought," she murmured to herself, adding another data point to her analysis. 2 weeks into what should have been a simple conquest, and the Vexari Dominion faced an unprecedented military challenge. The laboratory doors hissed open as Supreme Overlord Krasik entered, his normally immaculate exoskeleton bearing stress fractures. A physical manifestation of the pressure he now faced from the High Command. "Tell me you have found their weakness," he demanded without preamble. Nixtrol gestured toward the central display. "I have found the opposite, Supreme Overlord. I have identified why they are so formidable." She activated a holographic representation of human evolutionary history. These creatures evolved as persistence predators. Unlike most sentient species who evolved from either defensive specialists or ambush predators, humans hunted by exhausting their prey. Meaning? Krasik's patience was clearly thin. Meaning they possess physical and psychological adaptations for sustained conflict that are virtually unique among known sentient species, Nixtrol explained. Their cardiovascular efficiency allows them to maintain moderate activity for extraordinary periods. Their thermal regulation through perspiration enables them to operate in temperature ranges that would incapacitate most species. She shifted the display to show human military history. But their most dangerous adaptation is cognitive. Humans have fought wars against themselves throughout their entire recorded history. They have developed and refined conflict strategies against opponents with identical capabilities and intelligence. No other known species has this evolutionary background. Krasik clicked his mandibles in frustration. This explains their resistance, but not their technological adaptation rate. They're deploying countermeasures based on our technology that should take decades to develop. That's their second unique characteristic, Nixtrol continued, bringing up new displays showing human scientific achievements. Their problem-solving methodology is fundamentally different from ours. Where Vexari science builds through careful iteration and consensus, humans employ competitive parallel development. Multiple teams work on the same problem simultaneously, often with radically different approaches. She highlighted images of human laboratories where captured Vexari technology was being reverse-engineered. Under existential threat, they've directed their entire species' innovative capacity toward a single goal: defeating us. Their historical records show they've done this before, during something they called World Wars, accelerating technological development by orders of magnitude. The strategic implications settled heavily on Kraszik's consciousness. You're suggesting we cannot win through conventional means. I'm suggesting that our definition of victory requires reassessment. Nixtroll responded carefully. Every day the conflict continues. They learn more about our technology, while adapting their tactics. The casualty reports reflect this pattern. She displayed a graph showing Vexeri losses increasing exponentially while their territorial gains plateaued. Humans responded to setbacks with increased determination and innovative tactical adjustments. In a secure underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps, the Unified Earth Defense Command analyzed the ongoing conflict. General Hassan Chen, appointed Supreme Commander of humanity's military forces, reviewed the latest intelligence on Vexeri capabilities. They're centralizing their command structure, he noted, studying orbital surveillance data. Their fleet is consolidating around their flagship. Dr. Eleanor Mbeki, head of xenobiology, nodded. That aligns with our analysis of their hierarchical social structure. The Vexeri respond to challenges by reinforcing authority, not distributing it like we do. A potential vulnerability, offered Admiral Takamura. Their adaptability is limited by their command protocols. They require approval from their chain of command for significant tactical adjustments. General Chen gestured to the global situation map, where green indicators showed recently liberated territories. We've recovered approximately 40% of occupied ground. More importantly, we've captured enough of their technology to begin leveling the playing field. He turned to Dr. Sanjay Kumar, chief of the Xenotech Integration Division. How soon can we deploy the modified shield generators? Initial units are already being installed on our most advanced aircraft, Kumar replied. The ground-based defensive perimeters around our remaining major cities should be operational within 72 hours. And the offensive capabilities? Chen pressed. Kumar's expression turned grim. The adapted energy weapons require significant power sources, but we've successfully miniaturized the technology to vehicle-mounted platforms. Mass production has begun at hardened facilities. General Chen surveyed the assembled leadership of Earth's defense. 3 weeks ago, we faced extinction. Today, we fight them to a standstill. Tomorrow, he let the implication hang in the air as determined nods passed through the room. Aboard the inevitable victory, Supreme Overlord Kraszik made a decision unprecedented in Vexeri conquest history. Prepare a communication to the human leadership, he ordered, his voice solemn. I wish to discuss terms for a cessation of hostilities. Commander Nixtroll's compound eyes widened in surprise. Supreme Overlord, the High Command will view this as... The High Command is not here, Kraszik interrupted sharply. I am responsible for this fleet and its warriors. These humans have earned the right to negotiate. As the message was transmitted to Earth, neither the Vexeri nor humans fully recognized how profoundly the galaxy's power balance was about to shift. The human delegation entered the negotiation chamber aboard the neutral vessel positioned in Earth's orbit. The ship, a converted Vexeri diplomatic cruiser, had been selected as the meeting ground between the warring species. General Hassan Chen led the human representatives, accompanied by Dr. Eleanor Mbeki, Admiral Takamura, and a small security detail equipped with recently developed energy weapons reverse-engineered from Vexeri technology. Supreme Overlord Kraszik awaited them, flanked by Commander Nixtroll and war strategist Vexmore. The Vexeri leader's exoskeleton had been polished to a ceremonial shine, though the stress fractures remained visible, badges of a conflict far more costly than anticipated. We recognize your delegation as representatives of Earth, Kraszik began formally, his translated voice filling the chamber. The Vexeri Dominion acknowledges your species' unexpected resistance capabilities. General Chen nodded curtly. We come prepared to discuss terms for your complete withdrawal from Earth and its orbital space. The Vexeri delegation's antennae twitched in what the humans had learned to recognize as surprise. War strategist Vex Mort leaned toward his superior. "They speak as though they have achieved victory," he whispered in the Vexeri harmonic language. "Perspective is relevant in negotiations," Kraszik replied quietly before addressing the humans again. "The Dominion proposes a cessation of hostilities. We will withdraw our forces from your planetary surface in exchange for limited resource extraction rights in your uninhabited territories." Admiral Takamura consulted her datapad. "Our assessment of your fleet's current operational capacities suggests you lack the resources to continue this conflict for more than 14 Earth days. 6 of your battlecruisers have sustained critical damage. Your ground forces have been reduced by approximately 60%. Commander Nixtrol's compound eyes fixed on the Admiral. "Your intelligence is impressive but incomplete. Our reinforcements are already en route from the homeworld." "No," Dr. Mbiki stated with calm certainty. "They aren't." She activated a holographic display showing intercepted Vexeri communications. "Your requests for reinforcement were denied by your High Command. They've classified Earth as a high-risk, minimal-value acquisition and ordered your remaining forces to withdraw once you've secured whatever technology and resources you can salvage." The revelation hung in the chamber like a physical presence. Krazzik's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of intense agitation. "How did you access internal Dominion communications?" General Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Your quantum communication technology was impressive. We've made several improvements to it." Before negotiations could continue, alarms blared throughout the vessel. A Vexeri communications officer burst into the chamber. "Supreme Overlord, multiple human vessels are attacking our fleet's central position. They've penetrated our defensive perimeter." The negotiation had been a diversion. While the diplomatic contingent occupied the Vexeri leadership, the true human offensive, Operation Hornet's Nest, had launched. Earth's newly equipped military forces, using modified Vexeri technology, executed synchronized strikes against the alien fleet. Aircraft bearing adapted shield generators evaded Vexeri defenses. Missiles carrying electromagnetic disruptors targeted propulsion and weapon systems. Most crucially, specialized strike teams deployed directly against the command vessels. Aboard the inevitable Victory, Acting Commander Zexstar faced overwhelming systems failures as human forces breached the vessel's outer defenses. "Redirect power to internal security barriers," he ordered desperately. "Secure the command deck and weapon control centers." But the humans had studied Vexeri ship architecture meticulously. They knew precisely where to strike, which systems to target, and how to disable rather than destroy key components. Small teams of human special forces operators moved through the flagship with practiced efficiency, neutralizing Vexeri resistance with weapons specifically calibrated to penetrate their exoskeletal armor. When Supreme Overlord Kraszik and his delegation attempted to return to their fleet, they found their shuttle bay locked down and surrounded by human forces. General Chen's communicator chimed with an incoming message. "Operation successful, sir," reported Colonel Nyambura, commander of the Earth Special Forces. "We have control of the inevitable Victory's command systems and weapons. The remaining Vexeri vessels are standing down rather than risk destruction of their command ship." Chen turned to Kraszik. "It appears the terms of our negotiation have changed, Supreme Overlord." The Vexeri leader's posture shifted subtly, a cultural sign of resignation. "You orchestrated this. The negotiation was merely tactical deception. We learned from studying your previous conquests," Admiral Takamura explained. "Your species always negotiates from a position of perceived strength. We simply ensured the reality matched our perception, not yours." Within hours, human forces had secured control of the Vexeri flagship and 3 additional battlecruisers. The remaining alien vessels, now without central command and facing weapons turned against them, surrendered with minimal resistance. Supreme Overlord Kraszik became the highest-ranking prisoner of war in human history, and the first Vexeri Supreme Commander ever captured in combat. As Earth celebrated its unexpected victory, scientists and engineers worked feverishly to fully understand and adapt the captured Vexari technology. The most significant prize was the interstellar propulsion system, technology that would have taken humanity centuries to develop independently. In a secured facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Sanjay Kumar led the reverse engineering effort on the captured vessels. The principles are actually remarkably elegant, he explained to General Chen during an inspection. Their faster-than-light drive creates a localized distortion in space-time that allows the vessel to effectively slide between normal space points. How soon can we replicate it? Chen asked, watching technicians carefully disassemble components of the Vexari engine core. We've already successfully tested small-scale prototypes, Kumar replied with barely contained excitement. With the captured ships as templates, we can begin retrofitting our largest aerospace vessels within months, not years. General Chen nodded thoughtfully. And defensive capabilities. Their energy weapons are substantially more efficient than anything we've developed, but the underlying physics is well within our understanding. Mass production of human-adapted versions began last week. In the adjacent laboratory, Commander Nixtroll, now a cooperative prisoner, observed the human engineers with fascination. She turned to Dr. Mbeki, who had been assigned as her liaison. You understand what this means? The Vexari scientist asked quietly. Your species is about to join the interstellar community centuries before your natural development timeline. Dr. Mbeki's expression was solemn. We understand. The question is whether the interstellar community is prepared for us. Neither spoke the obvious truth. Humanity, forged in the fire of invasion, was entering the galactic stage not as peaceful explorers, but as proven warriors who had defeated one of its dominant powers. The consequences would reshape the cosmic order for millennia to come. 3 months after the capture of the inevitable victory, Earth's orbital shipyards bustled with unprecedented activity. The massive facilities, constructed using adapted Vexari manufacturing technology, housed humanity's first true interstellar fleet. 7 former Vexari vessels had been repurposed with human interfaces and crews, while 12 newly constructed hybrid ships combined Earth engineering with alien technology. Admiral Takamura stood at the command deck of the flagship Resilience, formerly the Inevitable Victory, observing final preparation procedures. The vessel's interior had been extensively modified to accommodate human physiology, while retaining the advanced systems that made it so formidable. All ships report ready for jump sequence, Admiral, announced Captain Rodriguez from the operations console. Engineering confirms drive cores are functioning at optimal capacity. Takamura nodded, her expression betraying none of the apprehension she felt. Signal all vessels. Commence countdown for synchronized jump. Throughout the fleet, human crews prepared for humanity's first coordinated interstellar deployment. The mission parameters were clear. Pursue the retreating Vexari forces to their forward operating base in the Proxima Centauri system, neutralize any resistance, and secure the Stellarway, the complex network of navigational beacons and supply depots that supported Vexari military operations. Aboard the support vessel Prometheus, Dr. Kumar monitored the experimental weapon systems his team had developed by synthesizing human innovation with Vexari technology. The dispersion field generators are stable, he reported to his engineering team. If our calculations are correct, they should effectively neutralize Vexari shield harmonics at twice the range of their standard weapons. General Chen, now Supreme Commander of Earth's Unified Defense Forces, addressed the fleet from his command center beneath Geneva. Today, humanity takes a step that would have been unimaginable 4 months ago. We move beyond our solar system, not as explorers, but as defenders. The Vexari attacked our world believing us primitive and defenseless. They will now face the consequences of that miscalculation. The fleet vanished from Earth orbit in a precise sequence of space-time distortions, leaving only the defense platforms and a small contingent of patrol vessels to protect the homeworld. In the Proxima Centauri system, The Vexari forward base detected the approaching human fleet too late to mount an effective defense. Commander Zexlac, the base administrator, had received reports of the inevitable Victory's capture, but had dismissed claims of human technological adaptation as exaggeration. Impossible. He chittered as the sensor array displayed multiple incoming vessels with Vexari signatures, but anomalous energy patterns. These primitives cannot have mastered jump technology so quickly. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in a perfect attack formation that would have made any Vexari tactical officer proud. But what followed deviated dramatically from standard Vexari military doctrine. Instead of concentrating fire on the base's primary defensive installations, the logical first targets, the human vessels dispersed in seemingly random patterns, engaging multiple secondary targets simultaneously. They're not following any recognized combat protocol, Zexlac's tactical officer observed with growing alarm. Their attack pattern appears chaotic. But there was sophisticated method in the apparent chaos. The human fleet was implementing a battle strategy developed through centuries of warfare against themselves, a distributed assault that prevented the Vexari from concentrating their defensive capabilities. While the base commanders attempted to identify the primary threat vector, human forces methodically neutralized communication arrays, sensor platforms, and power distribution nodes. Captain Maya Okafor, commanding the swift attack vessel Harrier, led a squadron through the base's outer defensive perimeter. Execute targeting pattern Delta, she ordered as her ships approached a cluster of Vexari patrol vessels. Remember your training. These ships rely on predictive targeting algorithms, maintain randomized evasive maneuvers. The human vessels dance through space in patterns no Vexari combat computer could anticipate, their movements informed by centuries of human aerial combat doctrine. Their weapons, hybrid designs combining Vexari energy projection with human targeting systems, struck with devastating precision. Within 6 hours, the Proxima Centauri forward base had surrendered. Human casualties were minimal, while the Vexari defenders were either captured or retreated toward their core territories. The Stellar Way facility, intact and now under human control, provided humanity with navigation data for the entire Vexari dominion. In a secured communication chamber aboard the Resilience, Admiral Takamura and General Chen conducted the first formal interrogation of Supreme Overlord Krasix since his capture. The Vexari leader had been treated according to human protocols for high-value prisoners, with dignity but under constant surveillance. Your species continues to defy probability, Krasix observed, his once imperious tone now tempered with grudging respect. No previously encountered civilization has adapted our technology with such efficiency. Perhaps you've been encountering the wrong civilizations, Chen replied. Tell us about the Vexari homeworld defenses. Krasix's compound eyes fixed on the human general. You cannot seriously intend to attack the heart of the Dominion. Our home fleet consists of hundreds of vessels. You have fewer than 20. Admiral Takamura studied the star charts recovered from the Proxima base. According to this data, your reinforcement capabilities are currently compromised. 3 major supply routes have been diverted to conflicts with another species called the Nelvari Collective. Your home fleet is operating at reduced capacity. The Vexari leader's antennae twitched in surprise. How could you possibly interpret our strategic deployment patterns from navigation data? We have our methods, Chen answered simply. Now you have a choice, Supreme Overlord. You can provide us with detailed information on your homeworld's defenses, or we will proceed without your assistance. Either way, the Resilience will arrive in Vexari space within 2 standard weeks. And what do you hope to achieve? Krasix asked. Even with your remarkable adaptability, you cannot conquer the Dominion. Conquest isn't our objective, Takamura explained. We seek recognition. Specifically, formal acknowledgement of Earth's sovereign status and non-aggression guarantees from the Dominion and its allies. Krasix studied the humans carefully. You killed many Vexari warriors. Our cultural protocols demand retribution. Your warriors died because your leadership underestimated us, Chen countered. That responsibility lies with you, Supreme Overlord. The truth of this statement seemed to reach something fundamental in the Vexari leader. After a long moment, he inclined his head slightly. I will provide tactical information on condition that civilian territories remain untargeted. As the interrogation continued, the human fleet completed repairs and prepared for the longer jump to Vexari core space. Throughout the vessels, crews studied Vexari language, culture, and military protocols. Knowledge that would prove crucial in the confrontation to come. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival. They were fighting for their place among the stars. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Vexari home system, a formation of 20 vessels against the backdrop of a violet-tinged nebula. Tactical sensors immediately detected 63 Vexari warships arranged in defensive patterns around the fourth planet. A rusty-colored world with 3 artificial rings of orbital habitats and shipyards. On the command deck of the Resilience, Admiral Takamura studied the holographic display with practiced calm. They've arranged their forces in textbook Vexari defense configuration, she observed. Just as our intelligence suggested. And just as Supreme Overlord Krasik confirmed, added Captain Rodriguez. Their doctrine prioritizes protection of the orbital shipyards over the civilian habitats. Takamura nodded, which tells us everything about their expectations. She opened a channel to the fleet. All vessels, implement Deception Protocol Odysseus. Tactical squadrons, prepare for microjumps on my mark. What followed demonstrated the fundamental difference between human and Vexari military thinking. Rather than engaging the superior enemy force directly, the human fleet executed a series of precisely calculated microjumps. Brief hyperspace transitions that repositioned vessels seemingly at random throughout the system. The Vexari defense fleet, trained to counter conventional assaults against predictable targets, found their formation repeatedly fractured as they attempted to intercept the wildly maneuvering human ships. Their coordination is fragmenting, reported the tactical officer aboard the Resilience. They're breaking into pursuit squadrons. As expected, Takamura replied. Initiate Phase 2. 3 human vessels suddenly appeared in close proximity to the largest orbital shipyard, launching what appeared to be a conventional attack. The nearest Vexari defenders converged to intercept, exactly as planned. But the apparent attack was a feint. The true objective was achieved when 5 smaller human craft materialized near the central communication hub connecting the Vexari defense network. Before the aliens could respond, specialized electronic warfare systems, hybrid technologies combining human cryptographic algorithms with Vexari transmission equipment, infiltrated and temporarily paralyzed the Vexari command infrastructure. Throughout the defensive fleet, confused commanders suddenly found themselves without central coordination. Aboard the Vexari command vessel Inevitable Conquest, acting High Commander Nixara, recently promoted following Krasik's capture, recognized the human strategy too late. They're not trying to defeat our fleet, she realized, mandibles clicking in agitation. They're demonstrating they could cripple our defenses if they chose to. She opened a direct communication channel to the Resilience. Human vessel, this is Acting High Commander Nixara of the Vexari Dominion. Your tactical display is impressive. State your intentions. Admiral Takamura responded immediately. This is Admiral Yuki Takamura of Earth's Unified Defense Forces. We seek dialogue, not destruction. Our demonstration was necessary to ensure that dialogue occurs from a position of mutual respect. What followed was unprecedented in Vexari history. A negotiation with a species they had attempted to conquer, conducted not from a position of dominance, but of wary equality. The Resilience docked with a neutral station in high orbit, where Admiral Takamura and General Chen, accompanied by a delegation of Earth's scientists and diplomats, met with Acting High Commander Nixara and the Vexari Leadership Council. Your species has achieved what no other has managed in 600 cycles of Dominion expansion, Nixara acknowledged as the formal talks began. You have forced us to reconsider our assessment of emerging civilizations. "We come seeking recognition, not retribution," General Chen stated. "Earth claims its place among spacefaring worlds and requires assurance against future aggression." The Vexari delegation exchanged glances, their antennae twitching in what humans had learned to recognize as discomfort. "There is something you must understand about your position in the greater galactic community," Nixera said finally. "The Vexari Dominion is merely one power among many, and we are not well regarded by the most advanced civilizations." What followed was a revelation that transformed humanity's understanding of their place in the cosmos. Through holographic displays and historical records, Nixera explained the true nature of the interstellar political landscape. The galaxy contains approximately 12,000 spacefaring civilizations, organized into loose confederations and autonomous regions, she explained. The most advanced species abandoned physical conflict millions of years ago, considering warfare a primitive developmental stage. The Vexari Dominion exists in what they consider the unregulated frontier, regions where emerging civilizations are permitted to develop without intervention. Dr. Eleanor Mbeki, Earth's chief cynoanthropologist, leaned forward with intense interest. "Are you saying there's a galactic civilization that allows conquest of less advanced worlds?" "Not precisely," Nixera clarified. "The elder species practice non-interference with developing worlds. They consider it ethically necessary to allow civilizations to evolve without external influence. The frontier regions exist where their monitoring is minimal. And the Vexari take advantage of this policy," Chen concluded. "We expand our influence where we can," Nixera acknowledged without apology. "But our recent conquests have drawn increasing attention from the Galactic Concord, the loose alliance of elder species. Your world was to be our final expansion before a strategic withdrawal to consolidate our territory." The implication stunned the human delegation. Earth had not merely defeated a dominant galactic power, they had defeated a second-tier civilization operating in the shadows of truly advanced species. "Then our victory means little in a greater context," Admiral Takamura said quietly. "On the contrary," Nixera responded, her translator conveying something like respect. "Your victory is unprecedented precisely because of what you achieved with such limited resources and time. No species in recorded history has adapted alien technology so quickly or applied it so effectively." She manipulated the holographic display to show the wider galactic map. "The Concord monitors all emerging civilizations. Your response to our invasion has undoubtedly registered in their observation networks. They will be interested in a species that can defeat an established power within months of first contact." Dr. Mbeki exchanged glances with General Chen. "Is that good or bad for Earth?" "Unknown," Nixera admitted. "The Concord's intervention protocols are unpredictable. But one thing is certain, humanity has announced its presence on the galactic stage in a manner impossible to ignore." As the negotiations continued, Supreme Overlord Krasik, still in human custody but present as an observer, addressed General Chen privately. "I understand now why you sought me as a prisoner rather than executing me as your ancient war protocols might suggest." Chen nodded. "Information is more valuable than retribution. You have much to learn about the greater galaxy," Krasik said quietly. "Not all species will be as straightforward as the Vexari. Some use methods far more subtle than conquest." The warning lingered as humanity prepared to make first contact with a universe far more complex and ancient than they had ever imagined. 1 year after first contact with the Vexari, humanity gathered aboard the Resilience for a ceremony unprecedented in Earth's history, the formal signing of the Sol Vexari Treaty. The flagship's Grand Assembly Hall, once designed for Vexari military councils, had been transformed into a diplomatic chamber where representatives from both species would codify their new relationship. Admiral Takamura, now bearing the additional title of Earth's interstellar envoy, stood beside General Chen as the human delegation entered. Across the chamber waited Acting High Commander Nixera. Supreme Overlord Krasik, officially exchanged in a prisoner transfer 3 months earlier, and the Vexari High Council members who had traveled from their homeworld for this historic occasion. Between them floated a holographic display of the treaty text, rendered in both human languages and Vexari harmonic script. The document established Earth as a sovereign power with rights to develop uninhabited systems within 3 designated expansion corridors. The Vexari Dominion acknowledged its aggression and committed to technological reparations, including navigational data for 50 star systems and technical specifications for atmospheric terraforming. Today marks the transition from conflict to cooperation. Admiral Takamura began, her voice carrying through the assembly hall. Our species met in war, but will proceed in mutual recognition of sovereignty and shared interests. Nixera stepped forward, her exoskeleton bearing ceremonial markings that signified diplomatic authority. The Dominion acknowledges humanity as equals under the recognized protocols of spacefaring civilizations. Your defense of your homeworld, and subsequent restraint in victory, demonstrates qualities worthy of respect. As the leaders approached the treaty interface, Dr. Eleanor Mbeki, standing among the human delegation, noticed a disturbance at the chamber's entrance. 3 figures entered, beings unlike any species previously encountered. They moved with fluid grace, their bodies seemingly composed of crystalline structures that shifted and refracted light. No visible technology accompanied them, yet they emanated an unmistakable aura of advanced capability. The Vexari delegation immediately stiffened in recognition. Kraszik's antennae flattened against his head, a gesture of profound deference, while Nixera quickly moved to intercept the newcomers. Representatives of the Concord, she acknowledged, her translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of formal Vexari diplomatic language. Your presence honors this proceeding. The crystalline beings moved forward, their forms rippling with patterns that somehow conveyed communication. When they spoke, the words seemed to form directly in the minds of all present, rather than through conventional sound. We observed this interaction with interest, communicated the central figure. The Galactic Concord acknowledges the emergence of a new participant in interstellar affairs. General Chen stepped forward, maintaining remarkable composure despite the unexpected encounter. We are representatives of Earth. We were not informed of your attendance. A sensation like gentle amusement rippled through the mental communication. Observation precedes introduction by Concord Protocol. Your species has demonstrated unusual developmental characteristics that warrant direct assessment. Admiral Takamura exchanged glances with Nixera, who subtly indicated this was an extraordinary occurrence. What specifically interests the Concord about humanity? Takamura asked. Most emergent species require centuries or millennia to adapt to interstellar capabilities, the Concord representative explained. Your adaptation occurred within months. Most significantly, when achieving military dominance over the Vexari, you chose negotiation over elimination, a behavioral pattern inconsistent with your stage of development. Dr. Mbeki joined the conversation, her scientific curiosity overcoming diplomatic protocol. You categorize civilizations by developmental stages. All patterns of intelligence follow observable trajectories, came the response. Species typically advance from planetary to interplanetary, interstellar, and eventually intergalactic capabilities. Each stage correlates with ethical and philosophical evolution. Your species has demonstrated technological advancement incongruent with your ethical development, an unusual combination. Kraszik moved forward, addressing the Concord representatives with careful deference. Humanity's unexpected capabilities are why I authorized our withdrawal. Their threat response exceeds all predictive models. Indeed, the crystalline being acknowledged, which necessitates modification to established observation protocols. The implications settled heavily across the assembly hall. Earth had not merely secured a treaty with the Vexari. They had attracted the attention of powers that operated on a scale barely comprehensible to human understanding. The Concord hereby establishes formal recognition of humanity as an emergent interstellar species, the representative continued. You are granted provisional navigation rights within local cluster boundaries and observer status at the Galactic Registry. Additionally, as is customary for newly recognized species, you may designate one representative for knowledge exchange at the Concord Nexus. The unexpected diplomatic victory left both human and Vexari delegations momentarily speechless. What had been planned as a bilateral treaty signing had transformed into humanity's introduction to the wider galactic community. As the ceremony continued, now with the Concord representatives as witnesses, Dr. Mbiki found herself standing near Nixera. "Is this standard procedure?" she asked quietly. "Unprecedented," Nixera replied. The Vexari achieved Concord recognition after 80 years of interstellar development. You've managed it in one. The treaty signing concluded with the additional provisions recognizing Earth's new status. As the delegates prepared to depart, Supreme Overlord Krasdik approached General Chen. "When we first detected your world, we believed we had found easy prey," the Vexari leader acknowledged. "Instead, we awakened a species that will reshape galactic politics for centuries to come." Chen studied the once arrogant alien who had ordered the invasion of Earth. "Was it worth it? The cost to your people, your standing." Krasdik's compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights. "The Dominion has lost territory and prestige, but gained something perhaps more valuable, a profound recalibration of our understanding. The galaxy now watches humanity with fascination and trepidation. You have bypassed centuries of gradual development through a unique evolutionary advantage. Your capacity to transform threat into opportunity." As the Concord representatives departed in a shimmer of crystalline light, Admiral Takamura rejoined General Chen. "1 year ago, we were fighting for survival against an enemy we didn't understand. Today, we've secured not just peace but recognition from powers beyond our comprehension." "And tomorrow?" asked Chen. Takamura gazed at the stars visible through the viewports of the Resilience, stars that now represented not just distant lights but potential destinations. "Tomorrow we explore, we learn, and we remember the lesson the Vexari taught us about assuming too much about species we don't understand." Throughout the galaxy, news spread of the emergence of humanity, the species that defeated a conquest fleet, mastered interstellar technology in months rather than centuries, and somehow caught the direct attention of the Concord. Among the thousands of spacefaring civilizations, a new saying entered diplomatic discourse: "Beware the creatures from the third planet. They turned invasion into opportunity." And on distant worlds, the cautionary tale was told of how the Vexari Dominion had made the most catastrophic miscalculation in recent galactic history. They had picked a fight with the deadliest kind.